All right. Good morning. Welcome to Lassen National Park. Man, where to start? This is the beginning of what could be a impossible quest. It could be a long quest, but I've decided to take on trying to camera trap a Sierra Nevada red fox. And that's a lot harder than it sounds. So we got to back up. Way back when, it's been a year ago, I got a camera trap image of a gray wolf, right? And it was rare and special, and in California, which there's only like 20 of them in the whole state, right? I got that, and it kind of was a whirlwind. You know, a lot of people saw it and all that stuff. But people started asking me not too long after that, like, what's next? You know, what rare animal are you gonna go after next? Obviously, if you can just go get a picture of a wolf, you could do anything, right? Well, it's not that easy. But one thing that came up a couple times was a Sierra Nevada red fox. And I didn't know hardly anything about these critters. So I started looking into it. And they're fascinating. They are incredibly rare. So almost a year ago, I figured out just from reading online that there is a population of these foxes in the Mount Lassen area, right, like literally right by Mount Lassen in Mount Lassen National Park. And there's a little population of them right near Yosemite, a little bit north of Yosemite. And those are the only ones that they know of in the state of California. And there could be as few as 20 and maybe as many as 50 in the entire state. But you can't set a camera trap in a national park, right? So like a year ago, I found a link to apply for an application for a permit to set cameras and or like collect samples and that kind of thing. Like basically a scientific research permit with the federal government for a national park. Pause. There's a deer right there. See that deer? It's just listening to me babble away. It's like, what's that guy talking about? So I filled it out, and I started to fill it out like, okay, how can I frame this like it's gonna be some scientific research, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be brutally honest. Like, all I want is a killer picture of a rare animal, right? So it says like, what's your intent or goal, objective with this study? And I think I said to obtain the best photo ever taken of a Sierra Nevada red fox. And they bought it. So it took a year. I finally got a response back that said, okay, there's, you know, they forwarded it to Lassen Park, the Lassen Park people. And the Lassen Park people contacted me and said there's restrictions to this thing. There's you know, some places you can't go within the park to do that. There's designated like wilderness spots that you can't, you know, be in. But if you still want to pursue it, you know, we can maybe push this through. So I said yes, and it was still another few months. But just in September here, I got a permit. So I can now set camera traps in a national park all the way through the year 2023, which is crazy, but super fun. So I started again my research on these foxes, and I learned a lot about them. I'm still learning a lot about them. They're very cool. So they are a cousin of the very common red fox, right? So we have red foxes, we have gray foxes, and both are very common. The Sierra Nevada red fox, or SNRF as we're gonna be calling them, the SNRFs are a subspecies of the common red fox, and they live in high elevations, and they like alpine terrain and snow, and they're a very cool critter. Well, let's back up and talk about their history real quick. So if you look at a map of California and you look at the Sierra Nevada mountain range, all of this high elevation sort of spine of the Sierra throughout the state is historical habitat of the Sierra Nevada red fox. On up through the north, this is Mount Lassen right up here. So they used to range all over this whole spine, and now you're talking about a tiny population that we know of right around here in Yosemite, just north of Yosemite, and a tiny population right up here in and around Mount Lassen. And that is a population of maybe less than 40 individuals total, somewhere between 20 and 50. There could be other pockets of these animals that we don't know about, but we haven't found any evidence of them at this point. So this is Mount Lassen. This is Lassen National Park. Mount Lassen's just over 10,000 feet. The surrounding area around Lassen Park ranges from about 6,000 up to that. The high point on the road that goes through the park is at about 8,000. So this is high elevation, alpine kind of terrain, which is where they like to be. There are other pockets of these critters further north through the state of Oregon in other Cascade volcano kind of areas in these high elevation sort of pockets. But for whatever reason, they have not really rebounded in numbers. So there is not a whole lot known about them, and it's really intriguing, I think, to kind of get a chance to see one on camera. So I have a few ideas of where I want to set cameras up based on talking to people that have had sightings and what I can gather online about the kind of habitat that they like and where they like to travel. But I'm not allowed to say exactly where I'm going to be as a condition of my permit, so I can't disclose that. But somewhere on this map is where I'll be hunting for the elusive SNRF. In the 1800s, when fur trappers first started showing up looking for pelts and things, the Sierra Nevada red fox were much more common, and they were coveted for their really, really thick fur. It was better fur than gray foxes or common red foxes because they live at such high elevations. So they were trapped and hunted, obviously, along with everything else. In 1973 or 74, they were banned from being hunted because we know that the population was declining big time, and the thought was that they would rebound after that, and they just kind of didn't. So scientists today even aren't really sure why their population hasn't really bounced back, but there are only a few little pockets of them left. In California, there's just the Yosemite ones I was talking about, these ones right here by Lassen Park, and that's it. And then further north, there are a few pockets along the Cascades in Oregon. So the bummer thing for these foxes in Lassen, I mean, they're in a national park, so they're pretty protected. But the line between the Cascades and the Sierra is basically just south of here. So these foxes are lumped in with the Oregon guys. And because of that, there's a few more, in the population, and they're not on the endangered list. The ones south by Yosemite are federally protected and everything else. But these guys are considered the northern like population of the species, but they're the same critter. So I'm poking around today. I'm gonna set a couple cameras up today, trail cams, not real cameras. The beginning of this sort of quest will be just trying to get one on a trail cam and seeing if we can get in a neighborhood where we might get one on a camera trap. So I've read a lot about where they've trapped them in the park, and I've read a lot about sightings, and I've talked to people that have had sightings, and I've kind of got a couple areas narrowed down that I want to look in the park. The problem is we're at like 8,000 feet of elevation right now, maybe not quite that, 75. It's October. The road through the park is going to close in the next few weeks. So my goal today is to get a couple cameras out and get them set, and then get back and get them before they close the road. So I'm hoping I've got another couple weeks at least to leave cameras out. I might miss that window, and I'm prepared to leave these cameras all winter long. This is a hard spot to get to in the middle of winter. I mean, you got to cross country ski in and probably spend the night, and people do it, so it's doable. But I'm hoping to get a camera set up and well, a couple cameras, and then get them out. Hopefully get a glimpse maybe even before winter. But this is the beginning. This is chapter 1, so we'll see where this goes. But welcome to the quest for the SNRF. Whew. Feeling that altitude a little bit. So one super cool thing about the red fox quest is that everybody likes them. You know, when I was out trying to get a wolf, there's some haters out there, man. There's a lot of people that, you know, want to make it political or whatever else. But I feel like with these little SNRFs, man, they're fuzzy. They got a cute nickname. Everybody wants them to survive. So potentially less drama involved with getting a photo of one of these. So I'm following deer trails and stuff from what I've read. They do like the path of least resistance when it's available. I'm looking for natural bottleneck kind of situations, like you got this rock face up here, kind of in a little canyon sort of situation. Looking for paths of travel through the general area where I've heard of a couple sightings and read online. You know, there's like articles about the research, which is super interesting, actually. We didn't know much about these guys at all until the first ones were fitted with GPS collars, trapped and tracked, and that was in 2018. Well, that's not true. A couple were trapped in like the 90s, and the collars failed right away, so they didn't really learn anything. But the first SNRF den was not located until 2018, right here in this general area, when the first ones were collared. So it's pretty cool. Like the folks that are doing that study are still doing it and learning all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I should say too, I know nothing. Like I'm just out trying to get a picture. So everything I'm regurgitating is just what I've read online. So interesting stuff. But I'm gonna try to get a picture of one of these guys. Could be pretty cool. So we'll keep poking around. There's a couple of cool little cave situations in this rock wall. Like I can just see bobcats or whatever else using those, you know. Another super cool thing about getting permission to camera trap in a place like this is what else I might get, you know? I mean, there's martens up here. There's definitely mountain lions and a lot of bears, all the fun critters. So we might get some fun bycatch on the cameras. Pretty cool. So what sets these guys apart, pause. That's a cool track. There's deer running through here, but that's got some toes, man. That could be a coyote. A little small for a cougar. Hard to tell in this squishy ground. Can't really make out the claws or anything. Anyway, what sets these guys apart from other foxes is their fur, like I was talking about. And they also have like furry feet. They grow hair on their feet, and it acts like, you know, insulation and helps with like the snowshoe effect, because they are in snow country most of the time. They hang out above 6,000 feet, I guess, normally, all the way up to in here, which is, you know, the alpine kind of 7, 8, 9,000 foot range. So yeah, they're genetically different, I guess, from a red fox. So a lot of people are messaging me on Facebook and stuff saying, I've got Sierra Nevada red foxes in my backyard every day. I'm like, no, you don't. You've got red foxes. Red foxes are common. SNRFs are not. So there you go. I'm just trying to follow game trails, but this is a nice little bowl right here that's kind of a natural bottleneck, which is going to fill with snow. So it's super hard to figure out where to put a camera, because if it winds up riding out the winter, it's going to be buried in no time. We got to get up high, and usually I want to set a camera at like eye level with a critter. So it's going to be hard to put it up so high, but that's what we're going to have to do. So somewhere in this neighborhood, I'm going to set up a camera. So I don't know if you can tell very well on the camera, but there's like this total natural like game trail coming through here, and it works its way up over there. There's a lot of critters using that. So it's kind of my target. All right, here's your game trail. Same canyon I was in a second ago, but I mean, it's very clear here that everybody's sharing this road. So I got going. Camera 1 is here. And I got my little permit. I didn't put it very high. I couldn't make myself do it. So if I go too high on the tree, I'm afraid it won't trigger as well, pointing down. So I've walked this a few times, and it's triggering really well. So I'm just gonna have to pray that I can get back up here before the road closes. I'm gonna give this a couple weeks. So camera number 1, that's where it's gonna be. We're gonna get some critters right here on this trail. We'll get something, but it'll be very fun to get a fox in the first round. We'll see. Anyway, I've got a spot about half mile away, but a half mile is not easy in this country. So I'm gonna move on to the next spot and put another one up. It feels so impossible that you could get an animal this rare, you know, to pose in front of a camera. Like, how are you gonna predict where a little 8-pound animal is within a few square feet so you can get a picture? But you can't think in those terms, you know. They have habits and things that they do. And I felt the same way with the wolf. you know, I just kept telling myself, like, you know, who's gonna get the picture of a gray wolf? It's gonna be the person that's out there in the woods trying to get a picture of a gray wolf. Same kind of situation. The one who's gonna get a good camera trap image of a Sierra Nevada red fox is gonna be the person out here trying. This might be a year of failure, but it took me 3 years to get my bobcat. It took me 2 years to get my wolf. So I'm in it for the long haul here. Whoops. I guess I can't go that way. All right, this is that hole in the ground I just stumbled on. I came out up there, just kind of went around it. It doesn't look like it's being like actively used by anything right now, but man, there's like game trails coming down here, and there are critter prints all over. So I'm tempted to stick a camera on this and just see what uses it. I don't know, man. It's intriguing. I don't know how deep that hole is down there. All right, so this is that hole in the ground. That's the cliff that I came up on. It kind of continues. There's another hole like in here. So this is like rock fall in the middle. So it's more like a tunnel, I guess. Anyway, rather than put a camera right down in there somewhere, I'm considering that to be like sort of a natural wall. And there's a ton of tracks coming through here, working around this thing and on down inside of it. So I don't know my SNRF tracks very well, but there has been a ton of little guys running around right here. And you know, I'm sure a lot of them are ground squirrels and that kind of thing. But like, when I look at some of these tracks, it's the right size and shape. There's other stuff it could be, but main point is animals are using this corridor. So I'm gonna call it camera location number 2. I'm set up on this tree. Looking that way. So anybody comes down, good chance of getting like wind triggers from this thing blowing around. Again, I'm not very high off the ground, so once the snow flies, it'll be 10 feet deep right here. So hopefully I'll get here before that. But anyway, camera 2. This is fun. It's just down from where I just set that camera trap up, or that trail cam, I mean. That's pretty obvious bobcat to me. Running on through. There's bigger stuff too in this little area, but a lot of deer, maybe a coyote, but those prints are bobcat tracks. All right, made it back to my vehicle. I wound up just putting 2 cameras out. Oh, by the way, check out my mug. How cool is this coffee cup? Someone gave this to me. The mighty Canon 24-105, a lens I use all the time. I love drinking coffee out of this thing. I wound up only putting 2 cameras out. I think there is a real chance that I'm not going to see those cameras again until spring. So I don't want to put any more out there and lose them. I may actually purchase a couple more. These are not really expensive cameras. I will point out, they are no glow cameras, so they do not even emit like the red of an infrared that you can see with, you know, the animals and humans can see. These don't do that. But they're low-end cameras, just to get an idea of what's out there. So it would be okay if I didn't see them until spring. But I don't want to just put a bunch out there and, you know, not be able to find any of them until the snow melts. So there you go. That's the plan, is to get back here before the snow. And we will see. Last year the road closed like October 20th, 21st. If we get a big dump of snow, they'll close it. So I'm gonna watch the weather and try to get back up here just before the next big storm. Hopefully I get a couple, 3 weeks out of it. Probably won't be that late. It'll probably be the end of this month or the beginning of next before I'm scrambling to get up here. But there's been a couple weird years, so who knows. All right, let's see what happens with the SNRF. Thanks for tagging along, and we'll see you next time.